impact on this world with some very hard and honest questions. These questions have the power to question the status quo. These questions have the power to awaken the collective consciousness of this human society. So today I am also going to use this platform to ask a question which has the potential to change the future forever. And I request you people to answer the question very honestly. ऐसी शक्ल और ऐसा वैसेंस एंजाइटी इश्यूज एंड इंफीरियोरिटी कॉम्प्लेक्स तो इससे बनते हैं, करेक्ट? या दिस वाज आई इन द फर्स्ट ईयर ऑफ माय इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज, and that's the question that I'm going to raise, that how can this person with this face, with this personality, and with this essence could actually end up becoming a little confident. All right. Today, having trained more than 250,000 individuals and having been a leadership coach to many of the CXO teams across India, I can talk, I can crack a joke about this person. All right. I can take a joke. But that was not the case all across. All right. Till the final year of my engineering college, I battled anxiety, I battled inferiority complex, and I battled borderline depression. Every time I was alone in my room, I would feel this gut-wrenching anxiety that would spiral me down a vortex of emotions. And I would always end up crying. And I had no idea how I would come out of it. What would hit me, I would have no idea about it. Now, when you hear this, one might assume that this person would have been a very, very underconfident person. But interestingly, no. I never felt that underconfident. Now, on the face of it, for all practical reasons, one might find it very counterintuitive that how is this possible? Even I used to wonder the same, and I could not put my head around it, that how is this happening? So just like a true engineer, I started to find out the reason behind it. And thanks to my engineering, I had a lot of time because of not studying engineering courses. So what I did was I observed. I observed all those people whom I found very, very confident. I watched their interviews. I read their interviews. I carefully listened to them. And this is what I came out with it, that everybody, actually everybody can be confident. If you want to find out the steps to, reach that level, you got to follow some algorithm. You got to just understand some of the basic terms. This is where one more love of my life, the love for language, also played a very important role. It was during this time in my engineering only that when I started preparing for CAT, I got introduced to language English. I started learning language because I had been from a Hindi medium background. And I realized that language can teach you a lot. For example, a very simple thing was words. And I found that words are not just mere collections of letters. They are not just meanings. They can actually shape the way you think. They can shape your mind. They can shape the entire orientation. One such word I found out was confidence. People use it. All of us very often use it. But more often than not, we abuse it. We misuse it. We throw it. Very confident person. He's very confident. She's very confident. Confidence is the key. But have we ever wondered what exactly do we mean by that? And because of this lack of understanding, many underconfident people, they have a very distorted notion about it. Even the confident people, the so-called confident people, they also have a distorted orientation towards it. And that's why their orientation, their confidence can be broken just like this. I believe that if we try to figure these things out, we would definitely be able to find out that everybody can be confident. Now, a disclaimer first, that this is actually not a motivational talk at all. All right. So if you get motivated, that's not my intention. You can. I take it from a very academic viewpoint. I take it from the perspective that you also take it academically. You absorb it, you process it, and if possible, go out and implement it. Okay. Level one. This level happened when I was in my engineering college, and one of my seniors and a very dear friend, all right, he said this one line to me. I should not name my senior for obvious reasons, Dinesh Arora. And he said this line to me, that तुझे किस बात का confidence है? Now, the first temptation would be to judge this individual. And who was he? Was this statement said in the right context, or, a little derogatory? How was the sentence? But that's not the point. I request you people to forget about who said this to whom. Just concentrate on what is being said. And you would figure out that in his mind, confidence was actually an outcome of an achievement. In his mind, he must have thought, you must have achieved something and you become confident. And on the contrary, in my mind, the equation had always been the other way around. That it is only the confident people that achieve something. Now, which one of us is correct? That achievements lead to confidence or confidence leads to achievement? Only a few minutes, few seconds of thinking would tell you that actually both of us are correct. And this is where the foundation is laid. That confidence actually leads to success and success leads to confidence. Or at least it increases the probability of success and confidence. Which means anybody who is not confident, who doesn't feel as much confident, actually this cycle is not revolving for that person. And people who are confident, they are in this cycle, continuously looping along. Next comes the big question. How do we revolve this cycle? And this is where I'm going to take you to level 2. This level happened in my previous employment, where one of my bosses and a very, very smart fellow, he once asked me a question that, Amit, which one is more dangerous? A delayed decision or a wrong decision? He had asked this question because I was taking a lot of time to sign a check because I felt responsible for it and I, kind of felt apprehensive that if something should go wrong. I thought a lot about it. I did not immediately respond it because all of us would have different opinions about it. But when I went back home and I drew the analysis, this is what I came up with. That imagine that there are two people, person A and person B. Both of them have the opportunity to take 10 shots. Person A chooses not to take the shots and therefore his account says 0 success and 0 fail. Person B takes all 10 shots and since he's not good at it, fails in all of them. So it is 0 success and 10 failure. That's the account. Now, each one of us would have a very different perspective of who came out as a better guy. The way I read it, based on my own wiring, I felt that person B is a much better person. Because person A, if you observe, is the same person whose cycle is not revolved. And person B, even if he has failed in this set of 10 shots, the life hasn't ended. If you look at life from a macroscopy, life is going to offer you many such sets. Today it might be 0-10. Tomorrow also it might be 0-10. The day after it might again be 0-10. But one day, based on your learning and repetition, this would become 1-9. And suddenly, bang, this thing became very clear in my mind that why a person like me who had mental health issues, who had anxiety issues, never felt underconfident because I kept myself engaged in multiple activities throughout. And therefore, what was happening was that I always had something to learn, and all of us know that knowledge eventually gives you some kind of confidence. This happened with, my learning agenda with some of the games that I tried to learn. It happened when I wanted to learn English speaking, and this happened, and I failed a lot of time. But eventually, my brain kept getting fed with a lot of ideas that how I could become better. And this is where I learned this. Then comes the next stage, which is level 3, which is the true definition of confidence. The true definition of confidence. Now, before I share this with you, I want you people to imagine something. I want you people to imagine one area where you feel that you are good at, any one area. It could be a game, for example, and there would be certain people who are good at certain games. Let's say somebody is good at, table tennis. My question is, can this person take a challenge from me in a game of table? Whatever you are thinking in your mind about the game or the activity that you are good at, can you take a challenge from me in that very activity? And I'm sure all of you would immediately answer, yes, come on, we'll see. Observe that, you don't even know how I play that game, how I play table tennis. Am I good at it or not? But you are not even bothered about it. Which means the first step of confidence is actually the understanding of its origin. Your confidence emanates from within. It has nothing to do with the environment. It is actually somewhere within. Similarly, if you are not good at, let's say, table tennis, and I ask you, I challenge you to a game of table tennis, would you take the challenge? And you would say no. You would actually feel scared about it without even knowing how horribly bad I am at table tennis. Again, it is something from within that is answering you. And therefore, All those talks about how the environment was not conducive, how the situations are very difficult for you, actually are mere excuses. The first thing is whether you understand that confidence emanates from within. Each one of us would be good at least one. And that is where you need to concentrate first. Next question. This guy who is very good at table tennis, and let's say he takes up the challenge with me, we all know that no, there is always a probability that I can beat that person. Correct? But let's not talk about table tennis. Can this person take this confidence that he plays very well, in terms of table tennis, and take that confidence in a Sudoku solving competition with me? A lot of you would feel that no, that is not how it is done. And this is where we make the mistake. The true definition of confidence actually moves beyond and it talks about the agreement to venture out into the unknown. Because people who are genuinely confident, they do not rely only on that one game of table tennis and life to be so fair that we would always be judged on a game of table tennis. Life is going to throw different challenges at you. Truly confident people, they take those challenges head on. And they would say, okay, if I'm good at table tennis, I'm going to, play, I'll compete with you in a game of Sudoku also. Obviously, it's not a blind shot. The third step, which is the action plan for the vector direction, which means in their mind, they can easily calculate that if I became good at, let's say, table tennis, it happened because of multiple rounds of practice, concentration, focus. If I have set an objective of being very good at Sudoku, I've got to just follow that. Once you understand this 3-step process, you really would be able to figure out that this is exactly what confidence is all about. Look around at the biggest conglomerates. That's exactly what they do. I'm sure Dhirubhai Ambani would have actually gone through something like one day he would have tried, oh, I sell the petrol very, very well. Maybe I can try cloth. And he started selling cloth. He would have learned a lot by selling petrol and he would have actually done it with cloth and later on gone into everything around. And today, if you look around, you would see Reliance has been making everything. The other day, I saw, the noodle packets of Reliance. God knows they have gone into everything because this is exactly the mindset of genuinely confident people. I'm going to share with you my most favorite and most cherished memory, something that completely changed my life and that sealed this definition of mine that I came over a period of time. This stage happened when in the year 2003, I was in Delhi working and I was supposed to take a workshop, an English speaking workshop in one of the computer centers in East Delhi. This computer center was a very low-key computer center in kind of a suburb of Delhi, if you're aware of the East Delhi. And what I observed was this was just like, a horizontal classroom and I was taking this workshop and I observed that there was this one girl sitting somewhere on third or fourth in the right row, third or fourth on the left in the last row. Very, very, actively participating in the entire session. Every time I had a question, she would raise her hand and answer the question. Every time I asked something, she would raise her hand and ask a question. The interesting thing was that she was horribly bad at English. Her English was so poor that I remember there was this one line where she said, "Sir, when I'm with my mother and my mother is nowhere to be seen and I was looking for you." And I was like, "What are you trying to say?" And then I figured out, oh, she's kind of juggling up between past continuous and present. She was so bad at it. Now, what got my attention was that usually people like us, because I'm counting myself because I also had been extremely bad at English speaking. People like us tend to avoid the attention. And this was an English speaking workshop. It makes all the more sense to hide somewhere in the program. But here this was this girl who was asking me multiple questions. It didn't end there. It actually got even better when I observed that there was a bunch of students, some guys here, who started making fun of her. Every time I asked a question, they started nudging each other. Hey, she will answer, she will answer. And maybe because it was just a one-off case for me, I kind of, ignored. I was also very young, so did not feel like taking panga with old people. So I just let them. So what happened was, I was not avoiding and she was not stopping. These people, their sound, their noises, they became louder and louder and louder. And at one point of time, I asked something and I was waiting somebody to answer and all of them collectively said, "Oh," and looked at her. And all eyes went to her and she was unfazed. She just answered. And this was a time when the curiosity got the better of me. And I asked her, I said, do you realize that, you've been participating a lot? I was at my euphemistic best not to hurt her feelings. She said, yes. I said, and do you realize that you are not very good at English? And she said, yes. And do you realize that there are certain people who are making fun of you? She said, yes. I said, does it not bother you? She said, no. And I don't know why. Intuitively, I asked why. And she said, because I'm confident. And I just could not understand. So intuitively, the next question was, what gives you this confidence? She looked in my eyes and said, because I can cook good food. And everybody in the class, they started laughing. And I could not believe my ears, what I had heard. I still have got goosebumps in terms of what I felt she had spoken. But I could not believe that this girl would say that. So I asked her, I said, what do you mean? What do you mean? And everybody was laughing. Unfazed by them, she looked in my eye and said, you speak good English. Are you confident? I said, yes. She said, can you cook good food? I said, no. It is so we are equal. And I loved that entire thing because the moment she said that, I was like, lady, I genuinely worship you because you are confidence personified. This is exactly all 3 steps in action. She knew that she was good at one thing, cooking. She was trying to venture out into something as an uncharted territory, English speaking. And all she was doing was putting these things into practice. She was actually putting effort. And I saw myself in her and I realized this is exactly what Amita's was. Because I remember when I had dreamt to become a public speaker, when I had dreamt that one day I would be, become better at English speaking, it was only because I had a good sense of humor. How are these two things related? Hell, I care. All I wanted was, I'm good at one thing, I can be good at another. All I need to do is concentrate on what made me good at that one thing and try to replicate those things and keep giving feedback to myself. And this is exactly what confidence is. The motto of TED Talks is, ideas worth spreading. And I genuinely believe that ideas are lying everywhere. All you need to do is just look around. They are everywhere. In every conversation, they are there. All you need to do is pick them, process them, work on them, give them a formal form, shape, and size, and then give it back to the world. And that's how the good ideas will be spread. Thank you so much.